the stand right now, Rabbi Hirsch
9:17 in the
Mankiewicz.
morning. And do you see that particular email, sir?
Yes, that's on November 3rd, 2010 at 9:17.
And is that from Hemi Newman to Andrea Sneiderman?
Yes.
What does it say, sir?
It says, Eric had talked to me about this role during our EMS, but hasn't since. I guess I am disappointed to see this, and he didn't mention yesterday when we talked. Maybe he identified someone else. Don't know what to make of this, or if I should make anything of this. Venting, I guess. I thought of mentioning something, but I should probably let it go. Maybe it's a Reiner thing as well. I know this is hard on you, but you are the only one that gets it, knows the situation, understands me, I can talk to, and I still think of as my friend. I am trying not to put too much on you, though. Thanks, Hemi Newman.
Okay. And then one last email, sir, that I have marked for purposes of identification as Defense Exhibit 38. I have already shown it to
Yes, sir, you may approach.
James Turner, so may I approach?
Yes, sir. Does that one have a base number?
It does not, Your Honor.
All right, that's fine. It'll be number 38 for the purpose of
And
this
this
record.
is on August 20th, 2010 at 12:32 in the afternoon. You see that particular email, sir?
Yes,
Is that from Andrea Sneiderman to Hemi Newman?
it is.
And what is the subject, sir?
The subject is Greenville.
And what does it say?
And it says, by the way, if you would rather pass on Greenville for now, I hope you know that I am okay with that. Andrea.
Thank you very much, sir. Your word.
Also, I didn't ask Mr. James, was there any objection to D38?
No,
I mean, he said he had showed it to you, but I didn't put it in the record.
No, sir, no.
D38 was admitted without objection. No, no problem. Thank you.
Now, cross your arms.
Yes, sir. You may approach. You may cross. Yes, sir, if you wish.
Rabbi, we met during the last trial, right?
Yes.
And you were here every day during the last trial, right?
Not every day, but a big bulk of the trial.
The trial lasted, you say, about a month,
Yeah, 5 weeks, man. I don't remember exactly. but
5
yeah.
weeks, month,
Yeah.
or more than a month.
Yeah,
And you were here the bulk of that, correct?
correct.
Just about every day when we would turn around, you'd be sitting back there, right?
Not every day, but I was there bulk of the trial.
Bulk of the trial, all right. How did you actually come to know Andrea?
I was called by her sister-in-law to come to the family to provide support to them after Rusty was killed.
And you didn't know her before then, did you?
No.
All right. And once you met the defendant, you started working with her and the family. By working, I mean you started assisting her and the family.
Right.
And by assisting, I mean you actually started acting as a spokesperson on their behalf. Is that correct?
No, not a spokesperson, no.
Well, let me take you back to your testimony yesterday.
Okay.
Mr. Clegg asked you if, on Andrea's behalf, you talked to the media, right?
Yes.
And you talked to the media on Andrea's behalf, right?
Yes.
All right, so you were communicating to the media on her behalf, right?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Clegg asked you if you spoke with other people in the public on her behalf, right?
That I don't remember.
Let's start with the police.
Okay.
Remember that?
Yep.
Okay. And you said, yes, I spoke with the police on Andrea's behalf, right?
Right.
And so you were representing her, correct?
No, I would not say it that way. I was assisting her and her family in anything that they needed, both in their spiritual support as well as any other kind of things to help try to catch the killer. Part of that support required me to do certain things, including speaking to the police and doing that interview with Mark Winnie.
Okay, and that's the part that I want to ask you about.
Okay.
Understand that?
Yep.
Okay, all right. You were asked by Andrea on her behalf to speak specifically. I'm even asking about the media, to speak specifically to Mark Winnie, right?
Right. No. The police suggested that I speak to Mark Winnie so that they'll do a story so that we can keep the news alive again. And I was discussing with her how we should do and what we should do, but it was all the suggestion of the police, that particular interview.
But yesterday, when you were asked specifically, and we were all here.
Yep.
right? You were asked specifically, did you do so?
Yes?
All right, with the consent and the understanding of Andrea Sneiderman, you said yes.
Yes, that's true.
right? So you did so on Andrea Sneiderman's behalf.
I guess that's how you interpret on behalf, yes,
How do you
okay.
interpret it?
That's fine, I did it on her behalf.
Okay. And when you spoke with the police, again, you spoke with the police on Andrea Sneiderman's behalf.
Okay.
Is okay yes or is okay no?
I mean, it depends how you interpret on her behalf, but we could say yes.
Okay, I'll use the words that Mr. Clegg used yesterday.
Okay,
When you spoke with the police, you spoke with the police. All right? With the consent and with the understanding of Andrea Sneiderman. That's what he used, and you said yes. Is the
Yes.
answer still yes today?
yes.
Okay. I want to ask you about the conversation that you had with the police prior to her meeting on January the 5th, 2011.
Okay,
You called the police and told them there are some interesting things that Andrea has to tell you. Right?
yes.
And what were those interesting things?
There was this email that she had gotten from Hemi while she was down in Florida, which is sort of what triggered the whole thing, why she started really putting the pieces of the puzzle together, realizing that it might very well be him. And when we had that meeting in the morning, she hadn't had a chance to gotten into those details, so that was one big thing that she was going to share. That was the big one, at least, that stays out of my mind.
Okay, and I want to follow up a little bit about that.
Okay,
When you spoke with her, did she tell you specifically what was in that email?
yes.
Tell us what she told you.
Well, she was in such a bad state that she could barely get the words out of her mouth. So actually, her mother had to fill me in on the content of the email. But basically, I was made aware that the email included words to the effect that he didn't do it, or he didn't ... or something like that. And there was some sort of love song attached to it. And that was basically it that I remember.
And when she got this, because clearly he didn't do it, or he didn't ... made her feel like,
Your Honor, I'm going to object as to his speculation as to what she thought.
Response?
I'll rephrase the question.
All right, sustained.
She was upset about him saying, I didn't ...
Now, again, we're asking this witness to speculate as to what it was that made this witness upset.
I'm gonna overrule that objection, the way that question was phrased. You may answer that question.
Okay, so please repeat the question.
She was upset because of the email that she got. And in that email it said, I didn't ... Correct? Or I didn't do it as you just said.
Well, I don't know the exact words that were in it because they were repeating it to me orally, but I remember the words I didn't. The word, I wouldn't use the word she was upset. I think that it finally dawned on her when she got that email that there's a very good chance that he's actually the one that did it. So that's what set her off.
Now, Rabbi, I did ask you a couple questions ago about this meeting.
Yep.
And you just went into this long description about how she was distraught and how I could barely understand what she was saying, and about how her mama had to interpret. Now you're saying she wasn't upset. Now, which one was it?
No. What I'm saying is that you were phrasing a question about what kind of effect that email had on her, and the effect that the email had on her is that it opened up her eyes to the awareness that there's a very good chance that he's the one that did it.
And you learned about this on what day?
January 4th.
Do you know what day she got the email on?
She got it when she was down in Florida, I think maybe the 28th or the 29th at the end of the week.
On the 28th.
I don't know exactly the day. I know that it was at the end of the week.
Let's talk about the meeting that she had with the police on the 4th, the one that you said you went to.
Yes.
Right? When she met with the police on the 4th, I believe you testified that she gave them 4 or 5 other names.
Right.
Who were these people?
There were some new names, things that she had thought of over, like, I guess, while she was away on vacation, some new names for them possibly to look at, and some of the old names that had just been swimming around in her head that she wanted to follow up with, and he was one of those, but what the main focus was on him.
Okay, I want to ask the question again. And I want
Okay.
to my question.
Okay.
I ask you, she gave 4 or 5 other names, other meaning other than Hemi Newman.
Yes.
All right, and my question specifically was,
Okay.
who were these people?
I don't recall the names.
But you do recall Hemi Newman's name.
Yes, because Hemi Newman she was much more serious about than the rest of them.
So she gave 4 or 5 names, and the only name you remember is Hemi Newman.
You know what? I remember one other name. There was someone named Perlis, I think.
Okay, so what she said about Perlis?
I don't remember. She was just saying names that Rusty had business with maybe over the years that they should look into.
So again, the only name you remember is Hemi Newman.
Yes, because we had a conversation before we went to the police station about Hemi Newman and what her awareness that she came back from Florida with. So I knew that that was going to be the focus of the conversation, and that's what I remember.
Well, why did she, if you can answer this, and maybe you can't.
Okay?
Don't want you to speculate.
No problem.
But why did she give the police the names of 5 other people if she already knew Hemi Newman was the man that killed her husband?
She didn't know.
Hold. I'm going to sustain that objection.
I'll move on.
All right, move on.
Did she tell the police that she was having an affair at that meeting with Hemi Newman?
Nope.
I want to show you some emails. Counsel showed you some on direct examination, and I want to show you some as well.
Okay.
Your Honor, at this point, permission to publish State's Exhibit numbers 16.
16, you may. That's in evidence already.
You can start at the bottom of that email
Okay.
and read to the top where it says, I tried to get this delivered.
Your Honor, I'm going to object. This has been shown to the jury several times already. Unless there is a specific reason as to why this witness needs to see this particular email, I don't think it's appropriate to be showing it to him. So I would object on the grounds of relevance as to this particular witness.
Response?
Counsel took the last hour publishing emails in an attempt to presumably to show the jury that they had a regular and ordinary business relationship. What I am doing is rebutting that by showing otherwise and with the same witness that he did the opposite with. It's very relevant.
But this has already been introduced a number of times, Your Honor.
I understand. Overruled. You may proceed.
If you will start where it said, I tried, and well, first of all, start where it says from. Who's it from?
From Hemi Newman,
And who's it to?
Andrea Sneiderman.
And if you will start where it says, I tried, and read that email.
It says, I tried to get this delivered tonight to your room, but ran into Hilton bureaucracy. How frustrating, like 20 phone calls. You really are special. Good night. Talk to you tomorrow.
Okay. Read the top part, Ms. Snyderman's response.
So thoughtful and sweet. I knew you might try something like this. Talk to you tomorrow. I am joining a Mumbai quad opening. Call now, sleep later.
Permission to publish State's Exhibit number 17, Your Honor.
You may.
If you will start and tell us who it is from at the top, where it says the from line, and who it was sent to.
From Andrea Sneiderman to Hemi Newman.
And if you will read the email.
It says, those are gorgeous. Seriously, I haven't...
Sorry, let me stop you. It started at the bottom and from Hemi Newman.
It's not showing.
I apologize. That's my mistake. Start at the bottom.
From Hemi Newman to Andrea Sneiderman, open when you get in the room after the other email.
Okay, and if you could go to the top and read the response.
It says, those are gorgeous. Seriously, I have an appreciation for perfectly opened roses. Not sure what else to say, but thank you. Many thoughts, I suppose. Unbelievably thoughtful of you.
Okay. Permission to publish State's Exhibit number 20, Your Honor.
Number 20. You may.
If you would start highlighting right. If can start where it says on July 19th of 2010 at 12:48.
It says, are you kidding me? Nothing here, of course. Anyway, are you kidding me?
Okay? And if you will go down to the line below it, where it says July 19th, 2010, 12:45.
Okay, it says, it was supposed to be a paper they were supposed to leave in your room with the chocolates and flowers.
If you will go up to the line earlier, where it says from Henry Newman, Monday, July 19th, at 12:52 a.m.
It says, no, very serious. That was the 20 phone calls I referred to. The receptionist called me the last great romantic. I'll tell you what the note was supposed to say before we hang up later.
And if you will go above that and read Mrs. Sneiderman's response.
It says, but I thought it maybe did not work out. Romantic for sure. Let's talk to you in a few.
Now, counsel published an email with you that specifically, it was in July, and it was specifically pertaining to, seeing Mrs. Sneiderman next week after a trip. Your Honor, state permission to publish State Exhibit number 21.
No, 21?
Yes, sir.
You may.
You can start at the bottom of the email and read to the top.
Okay, it says, what's your seat number for the return 6:55 p.m. flight?
Okay, and if you'll read the next line above it and tell me, before you do that, tell me who's it from and...
It's from Andrea Sneiderman to Hemi Newman on Monday, July 19th.
Okay, read the next, read the...
I am obviously not sleeping. On Friday, my return flight seat number is 14A on Frontier, leaving 6:55, 11:48.
Okay, and if you can read Mr.
What are you proposing exactly?
Okay, and if you can read Mr. Newman's response.
His response is, arriving on Frontier 305 at 8:20. On the return, 4B was taken, so I booked 7A, 7B is still open. If you want to move, see you Wednesday. Hemi.
And on State Exhibit number 21, if you could read where it starts, send a note, and it's from Hemi Newman to Andrea Sneiderman.
Send a note.
Okay, if I may approach the witness, Your Honor.
Sure.
You may. What number is this, sir?
State Exhibit number 21.
It's 21. Is that, it's on the screen?
I'm going to do it, man.
That's fine.
Okay.
Right there where it says, send a note.
Okay. It's from Hemi Newman to Andrea Sneiderman, and it says, send a note to Carmen and ask her to order car service for you. Then we'll figure out how I get home since I'm not on business travel.
Okay, and what is Mrs. Sneiderman's response?
Her response is, I can help there, I am sure.
State would ask for permission to publish State's Exhibit number 31, Your Honor.
31, you may.
You could start reading at the bottom. First of all, tell me who that's from, and tell me who that is to.
It's from Hemi Newman, and it's to Andrea Sneiderman, and it's
Go ahead, you can read it.
and it says, I caused you so much pain when all I wanted was to give you so much. I know it doesn't help, but I am so sorry. I shouldn't have come over. You are so beautiful, such a great person. And in the conversation about Adi, I discovered the mature, responsible Mama Andrea. Don't respond, not that I think you would. I'm sorry, Hemi.
You could read the response to that.
I really do not know what to say at this point. I am angry. Your apology is heartfelt, but does not make the ongoing pain go away that I now have to repent and live with for the rest of my life. Not sure what I was thinking. I am also feeling that we may have ruined it. Not sure. I am not trying to be hurtful. I am just being honest. I am not sure how to live with this.
Permission to publish State's Exhibit number 32, Your Honor.
You may.
If you'll start, tell me who that email is from and who it's going to.
Okay, it's from Hemi Newman, and it's to Andrea Sneiderman, and it says, I fully understand and I know nothing I say now will help. I will continue to be the best boss you have or will ever have. Today's 1-1 and Plantor were an indication that we can keep it pleasantly professional. I don't have to go to England, but if you think that it's good that I go for work reasons, then I will. We can have fun as colleagues, but that will be all. It is a night flight and there are movies, so it won't be too long. We don't need to decide now, but I want to make sure you don't have any stress just thinking about it. Never stop laughing, loving life, and believing in you, Hemi.
Maybe you could read the defendant's response.
She writes back, okay, I agree on all of the work points, and yes, that will all be fine. I hope I will just harbor feelings of anger and regret for an unknown period of time, and I do not know how that will come out during our normal friendship. I am fearful that we can now never have that, and maybe that's okay and better for both of us in the long run.
And if you read the response back.
This is the last one from me. This is from Hemi to her. This is the last one from me. I know it won't help, but please never forget how much I love you. Hemi and his cell phone number. And she responds, I know, but so do other people, and I have betrayed them all, and I am not sure how to deal with that now. My burden at this point, my burden, not yours at this point.
And Rabbi, I'm going to ask you to read one final email.
Okay.
Your Honor, if State may have permission to publish State's Exhibit number 33.
33?
Yes, sir. Start at the... Now, who was that?
That's from Hemi Newman to Andrea Sneiderman, and it says, besides the birth of Tom and Lee, that was the most beautiful, most wonderful experience of my life, I guess, and I am sure as... Yeah, my life. And I am sure as with you, today's the saddest day, Hemi.
And if you could read her response. If you could read her response.
Okay. She responds back, I appreciate that you at least understand what I am feeling, but I am having constant feelings of anger towards you, me, everything. Yes, it is mixed with some other feelings as well, but these are selfish feelings that I'm trying to suppress at every moment. I guess one of the worst things is that Thursday night was one of the best night dinners out I had in a very long time. It was such a great evening as a whole, and now I do feel sad that I will never have that again. So many other things to say, something are appropriate for email, and most result in me getting very angry, so I will stop now.
I'm sorry. I didn't, that last part, what did you
I
say?
can't read that word. It says nor, I think. So many other things to say, nor are appropriate for email.
Okay. And what was the last part?
And most result in me getting very angry, so I will stop now.
Okay. Okay. Rabbi, I know you came into the defendant's life in November after her husband had been killed,
Correct.
but you are aware that she was married, right?
That she was, yeah.
Okay. You deal with people when they're at a point of grief, right?
Yes.
And when you encountered the defendant, she was grieving, right?
Yes.
There are multiple reasons that people grieve, right?
Yes, I guess.
Some people grieve because of sorrow and just genuine grief, right?
Right.
Other people grieve because of feelings of guilt, right?
Sometimes.
You want, if I may just have a second?
You may.
Nothing further.
Okay.
Yes. Any recross?
No, sir, I have no other questions. May this witness speak? Yes.
Any objection, Rabbi, when the Rabbi release?
No, sir.
All right. You're free to go, sir.
Thank you.
John. Have a good day. Drive safe. Call your next witness, Mr. Clare.
We're going to call Samantha Barron.
That's all right.
She should be relatively brief.
That's fine.
Is that wrong?
Any gets cooler in here, the air conditioning is working better. This for the air. So they did address that issue.
Jeff Hullinger along with attorney B.J. Pak, and we have some of the coverage for you in between these moments of stretching and the breaks and the lunch break as well. B.J., what was your take on hearing the rabbi this morning? Is that a good move by the defense?
I think so. They got what they needed out of the rabbi in terms of Ms. Sneiderman's state of mind and the way she was behaving right after learning of the shooting and the days subsequent to that, to show that she was not a cold, calculated, murderer, or knew beforehand that her husband was going to be murdered.
All right, let's go back into the courtroom as a new defense witness is being sworn in.
Please state the spelling name for the record.
Samantha Barrand.
Samantha, if you could pull up the microphone so you can, just turn it to you and speak into it so we can all hear you, okay?
Can you spell your name, please, young lady?
Spell it.
Yes, ma'am.
SAMANTHABEHREND.
Thank you.
Samantha, how old are you?
17.
And are you a high school student?
Yes, I am.
Do you know Andrea Sneiderman?
I do.
Do you see her in this courtroom here today?
Yes, I do.
Could you describe what she is wearing for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, please?
What she's wearing? She's wearing a cardigan with a black tank top.
Okay. May the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant, Andrea Sneiderman.
The record may so reflect.
How is it that you know Andrea Sneiderman?
She was my neighbor, and I also was their babysitter.
Okay. And what period of time, how long had she been your neighbor? Where do you live? On Mangat Court in Dunwoody?
Yes, I do.
Okay. How long have you and your family been living at that address?
15 years.
How long had the Sneidermans lived there while you folks were there?
I don't know. Maybe 4 years. I'm not sure.
Where is their house in relationship to your house?
It's right across the street.
Did you have occasion to babysit for she and her husband Rusty while you were living across the street from her?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall when that would have been?
Like once a month before.
Was that in 2010?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall how old her kids would have been when you would have sat for the kids?
I think one was 3 and the other was 5. They were young.
When you babysat, were there both children, or was there one? Were both kids alive at the time when you babysat?
Yes.
Okay. As a result of babysitting, did you have an opportunity to interact with Andrea and Rusty Sneiderman?
Yes, I did.
Okay. How often would you estimate you would have had that opportunity to interact with the two of them?
Every time I babysat?
Okay. And again, as best you can recall, how often would that have been?
Once a month.
Can you describe their interaction as you observed it back in the year 2010 when you were a babysitter for these folks?
They were always really excited every time they were getting ready for one of their dates because that was always the reason they were going out.
Did you ever notice any sort of tension between the two of them?
No, they were always really happy.
Okay. Did you ever notice them giving each other the silent treatment?
No, there was nothing like that.
Okay. Do you remember when would have been the time that you would have babysat closest to the death of Rusty?
I think the month before.
Okay. And again, how much would you see them when they were getting ready to go out?
They would usually stay for at least 30 minutes before they left.
Okay. So would you have an opportunity to see them with each other for that 30 minutes?
Yes, I would, the entire time, because they would be trying to talk to me and to tell me new rules or something, how to take care of their kids.
Okay. And were they interacting with each other during that time?
Yes, they were.
Would you have an opportunity to see them as well when they returned home from wherever they had gone?
Yes.
How long would they interact with you at that time?
It would be probably like 10 minutes.
Ask you what the kids were doing and things of that sort?
Yes.
Okay. And again, on those occasions, did you ever notice anything out of the ordinary between them?
No, they were always happy.
Okay. Do you ever recall a time when you saw them when they were not happy in each other's presence?
No, they were literally always happy with each other.
And you saw them on a regular basis back in 2010?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember the day Rusty got shot and killed?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have occasion to see Mrs. Sneiderman on that day?
Yes, I did.
What were those circumstances, Samantha?
Me and my friend made some cookies and we were bringing them over for her, so we walked up over to her house.
Okay. Did you have a chance to interact with Andrea, actually contact or come into contact with Andrea on that day?
Yes, but, well, I wasn't able to talk to her because she was crying so much.
Okay. And did you actually go inside the house?
No.
Okay. At some point, did she move away from the house in Dunwoody?
Yes, she did.
And how long ago has that been, if you can recall?
I think it was a year and a half.
Okay. Have you had any contact with her since that time?
No, I haven't.
How old would you have been back in November of 2010?
15.
15. One moment, please, Your Honor.
You may.
The
We'll go back on
prosecutor
the
may
record.
have some questions for you.
He's done?
Okay.
No, not you.
Oh.
He was done. Who's witness, Ms. Cross?
Thank you, Your Honor.
You may, Ms. Cross. She may have some questions for you.
So you were about 15 years old when you were babysitting for the Sneidermans, is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you actually interacted with the defendant and Rusty about 10 minutes on either side of your babysitting events with them?
Probably about 40 minutes.
About 40 minutes? All right, and that was about once a month?
Yes.
Okay. Were you and Mrs. Sneiderman, were y'all confidants?
No.
Okay, did she share details of her personal life with you?
No, she didn't.
Okay. Did you, while you were at their home babysitting, you didn't like snoop through their emails or anything, did you?
No.
You wouldn't go through their papers or anything?
No, I didn't touch anything.
So all you know or all you're able to testify to is just that you saw them once a month when you babysat with the kids and you never saw them fighting. That's
Yes.
what your testimony is? Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Any recross?
I have no recourse. May Ms. Barron be excused so she can go back to high school.
All right. Any objection?
No objection.
All right, you are free to go. Have a good day at school. You should make it there by lunchtime. Enjoy your morning, young lady. Call your next witness.
Call Larry Daniel to the stand, please, Your Honor. I'll go fetch him. He's just
You may. Thank you. Follow the instructions of Deputy Garrett, please.
Turn around and raise your right hand. Do solemnly swear affirm that the testimony you shall give this court should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do. You may be seated. Please state and spell your name for the record.
My name is Larry Daniel, Larry Daniel.
Ms. Pitcher, he's been sworn.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's fine.
A couple of exhibits.
Oh, no
here, so
problem. Take your time.
Take as much time during the actual presentation as that makes.
Not a problem at all.
Mr. Daniel, how are you employed, please, sir?
I'm employed by Guardian Digital Forensics.
What is Guardian Digital Forensics, sir?
We are a forensics company that handles anything from computer forensics to cell phone forensics. We do GPS forensics and cell tower technology.
What is forensics?
Forensics is basically the application of science to the law.
Can you tell us how long you have been involved with Guardian Digital Forensics, sir?
I originally founded the company in 1998. We renamed it Guardian in 2006.
Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury and the court, please, Mr. Daniel, what your experience in the field of digital forensics is?
Well, I hold 5 certifications in digital forensics. I've been doing this kind of work since 2001. I've worked over, 500 or 600, 700 cases at this point.
When you say certifications, what types of certifications do you hold, please, sir?
Well, I have some that are specifically for computer forensics. I'm an ENCE certified examiner. and an Access Data Certified Examiner. One is an overall certification. It's a Digital Forensics Certified Practitioner certification. I have a GPS certification, and then I am a Certified Telecommunications and Network Specialist.
Have you ever been qualified as an expert by either a state or federal court, Mr. Daniel?
Yes, sir, I have.
And have you actually testified as an expert witness as opposed to just giving depositions, actually testified as a live witness in court?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Approximately how many times have you actually been qualified as an expert, sir?
About 25.
Okay. Can you tell us, sir, you indicated that you have a background in cellular tower technology.
That's correct.
What is involved in your background with that, please, sir?
Well, I initially received 16 hours of training specifically in analyzing cellular records for the purpose of testifying in court. I then followed on with that with another 60 hours of training through the Telecom Training Institute, which is a telecom training center that's online. I've also done about 250 hours of independent research for an upcoming book that I'm writing.
Okay. Speaking of books, have you actually published any books in the area of digital forensics, sir?
Yes, sir. I co-authored the book Digital Forensics for Legal Professionals.
And when was that book published, please, sir?
In 2011.
And we can find it on Amazon, right?
Yes, sir. You can find it on Amazon.
Now, Mr. Daniel, can you tell us, sir, what experience you actually have in analyzing cellular tower data as an expert?
Well, since
Let me interrupt you. Not just testifying, but your actual analysis, whether or not it led to live testimony.
Well, since I started doing this almost 3 years ago, I've probably handled 100 cases. And in that 100 cases, I probably analyzed data for 300 or 400 phones. And that would involve cellular records from multiple carriers, almost all the major carriers and most of the regional carriers.
Okay. And have you actually taught classes to either other technical professionals or to legal professionals in the area of cellular phone forensics or cellular tower technology, sir?
I have. And if you ask me how many times, I can't tell you. It's been too many.
Your Honor, at this time, I would move to tender Mr. Daniel as an expert in the field of cellular tower technology.
Whose witness is this going to be?
It's mine, Your Honor. No objection.
All right. He's considered as an expert in his field.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
You're
Thank
quite
you, Mrs.
welcome,
Cross.
Mr. Petrie. You may continue.
Thank you, sir. Now, can you tell us, Mr. Daniel, in cell tower technology, there's been some testimony in this trial about the basic technology, so I'm not asking you to reinvent the wheel here. But in general, how does cell tower technology work? How does a cell phone make a connection to a cell tower, and how can that connection be used later to help determine an approximate area for where the phone was when it made that call or received the call or received data?
Okay, that's kind of a long question, so it requires a long answer, if that's all right. In this particular case, we're dealing with AT&T, which is part of the GSM network, or the Global System for Mobile Communications Network. And in the GSM network, a cell phone will see 7 towers all the time. It's always scanning the 7 towers that it can make some kind of connection with in order to determine which tower has the best signal, not necessarily the strongest signal. And when it finds a tower that
I'm
it
going to
might...
interrupt you just a second.
Sure.
What's the difference between the best signal and the strongest signal?
Well, a good example is the best signal is the one that allows the greatest amount of voice quality and communication quality in a phone call. The most powerful signal is like brute force. It's just the most powerful signal that's available. They're not always
It's like what now?
brute force.
Brute force?
Yes.
Okay.
Just more power, not necessarily better quality.
A little less finesse?
Yes, sir.
Please continue.
All right, so when you power on your phone, the first thing it does is it looks for a registration channel. And then at that point, once it gets to the registration channel, it will start to scan for towers in the area. Once it finds a tower that it wants to connect to, that it determines internally that it has the best signal, it will connect to that tower, and it will tend to park on that tower until it either receives a call or is forced to move to a different tower.
Okay. Now, can you tell us in general, I guess we're talking in this case about AT&T, and I don't know if this makes a difference from carrier to carrier, but there's been some talk about the tower and the radiation and reception being in somewhat of a big pie that's sliced up into a third of each piece into a third. Can you tell us about that? Do you agree with that, disagree with that?
Well, in reality, a lot of times in expert reports, you'll see cell tower coverage represented as circles and pie shapes. That is a theoretical, easy shorthand method. It is not reality. Cell tower radio waves do not make perfect circles, nor do they make perfect pie shapes.
Okay. What kind of shapes do they make?
They make every kind of shape imaginable, basically. The only time, when you look at it on a map, you'll see a V shape like this. That's the sector that's shown on a map by an expert typically. And what you'll see when you actually look at the radio waves as they get to the ground where the cell phone is, that the only time you'll actually have this V shape is extremely close to the tower. As it radiates away from the tower, that signal will change. And it can change based on geography, it can based on whether or not you're in an urban area or in a suburban area, or if you're in a rural area. It can change based on whether or not there are trees with foliage on them.
So the signals don't keep a discrete line of demarcation, or the sectors don't keep a discrete line of demarcation between one and the other?
They do not. And as a matter of fact, they're designed to overlap some anyway. And then when you look at the circle, you know, radio waves don't get to a point and stop. Excuse me. They go on forever, just like light. So basically what happens with a radio wave is the further it gets from the tower, the less powerful it is.
Did you say it goes on forever?
Yes.
You said radio waves go on forever.
They do.
All right, go ahead.
So, but the fact of the matter is, obviously, you can't pick a radio wave up forever away because it's not powerful enough anymore. So, as that radio wave gets weaker, further it gets from the tower, there's a likelihood that another tower radio wave will be more powerful, and then your phone would switch to that tower. Because towers have a dominant area and a non-dominant area, and then they have hot spots. The dominant...
You get ready to explain
dominant,
non-dominant?
The dominant area of a cell tower is where the signal is so strong for that tower, no other tower can override it. And that's very close to the tower. The non-dominant area, as you radiate away from the tower, let's say if so 1.5 mile radius, maybe a half mile out, you start to lose that dominant area, and another cell tower can actually override that area with their signal. And then hotspots are disconnected areas from that tower where you can still make a phone call on that tower, but you may not be very close to it.
Okay. And so a hotspot is a place where you can connect to a tower, but it's not within the normal range of that tower?
That's correct.
So what creates a hotspot?
Just the fact that sometimes you have anomalies in radio waves where they'll pop up in an area that doesn't appear to be connected to that tower, but it's still that tower signal. If I had a picture, I could show you, but I don't have a picture today.
You want a pad and draw it?
I can,
Okay.
but that would help the audit. That would help them.
Okay, but let me move on to beyond hotspots. Can you tell us, Mr. Daniel, is there an infallible or immutable rule as to what tower a cell phone will latch onto at any given time?
There is not.
Please explain that to us, sir.
Well, most of the time what experts will say is it will normally connect to the closest tower because the closest tower will normally have the best quality of signal. However, normally is not absolutely. For instance, when I go into a fast food restaurant, I normally buy a Coke, but I don't always buy a Coke. Sometimes I buy a root beer. But I have no way to tell you how many times I make that different decision. Same thing is true with the cell tower. You don't really know why it connected to the tower based on call detail records. You only know that that was a call that was recorded for that tower at that time.
And you previously testified that it may or may not be the closest tower to where the phone is at the time it connects.
That's correct.
Now, does the amount of volume, and I don't mean loudness volume, but the amount of business that a tower is getting at a given moment, would that affect whether or not a phone call that would normally, or under normal circumstances, be routed to that tower might be routed somewhere else. Does that make any sense?
It does. Cell towers have a limit to the number of calls they can handle at one time. So if the call is loaded to the point where it has at capacity for the number of phone calls it can take, then you would automatically be switched to a different tower.
Okay. Now, could you in fact be geographically very close to one tower and yet the highest quality signal that that you're able to receive come from a farther tower?
Yes.
Okay. And again, what factors would go into that?
Well, there are quite a few factors that go into how a cell phone selects a tower. One of which is getting to the quality of signal, is whether or not there's a building in between the cell phone and the tower, whether or not the cell phone is in a car or outside, because cars block radio waves to a point, whether or not you're inside of if you have a hill between you and that closer tower, it may be blocked by the hill. You know, there's a lot of factors, environmental and other types of factors that go into that choosing of a tower.
You indicated earlier that what starts out as the pie shape, that there's some overlap between the sectors, correct?
It's actually designed to have overlap, yes.
Do towers themselves routinely overlap?
They have to, yes.
And why is that?
Well, because in order for your phone call to be continuous and not drop, then you have to have overlap between towers so that as you leave this tower's coverage area, the signal will get weaker and the phone is continuously measuring that signal strength. And as it detects a stronger signal, it will switch to the stronger signal, to which will be a different tower typically.
Now let me ask you this then. If a regular layman, run-of-the-mill cell phone user like me is using my cell phone and I'm walking around or in the car or stationary, is there any way that I have any control over what tower I'm using?
No, you do not.
Do I even, if I'm not, hope I don't offend you, if I'm not a nerd who's into the technology, do I even know what tower I'm on? Being off of?
If you're a layman, probably not.
Trust me, I.
Well, can you detect that with the naked eye?
No, sir. You
Use the
can.
term, I guess if you're a nerd, you have special skills that you can see something that other people can't see, because you can't see radio waves, can you?
No, sir, you cannot. But you can put your phone into engineering mode, and it will tell you what tower you're connected to.
Go ahead.
Super nerd then.
Super nerd, actually.
Now, can you tell us please, Mr. Daniel, if you are in an enclosed space, let's say like this courtroom, and you connect to a cell tower, is it a rule that it has to be, or is it likely that, or just neither, that your phone would be using the same tower as you're moving around this courtroom?
Well, it depends on the positions of the towers in relation to where we are right now. So if we had two cell towers that had equal distance from this courtroom, and depending on all the factors we discussed earlier, you can actually start your phone call on one of those towers, and unbeknownst to you, just by turning around and taking 2 steps, your phone would switch to the other tower.
And again, the user doesn't know that, doesn't plan that,
That's correct.
does not control that,
They do not.
or willfully control that. Okay. Now, in this case in particular, Mr. Daniel, did you review historical cell phone records for the cell phones for Andrea Sneiderman, and Hemi Newman?
I did.
Okay. And were those
The jurors indicate, well, I want to break. Let me go ahead and take a brief stretch break.
Yes, sir.
We're getting ready to get to this part. Let's go ahead and there'll be a 10-minute, with the assistance of Deputy Garrett, there'll be a 10-minute break, okay? So 10-minute break in the jury room. All right, thank you. All rise.
Welcome back, everyone. Joined by attorney B.J. Pak, who is kind enough to be with us for the duration of this session on Wednesday, and we have a lot of questions. We have seen a rabbi who